Hey guys, Dr. Casey Schneider here, and welcome back to Movement Every Day. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for all the feedback that I'm getting from all these videos. A lot of you are very interactive. I'm seeing you guys out in Charlotte. I'm getting texts all the time, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, even on YouTube. Very seldomly do I get some messages about the good content I'm putting out, and just to overall understand that you guys are learning from this stuff, and that's the most important thing. So I'm going to keep going with this because it's fun for me. It kind of keeps my brain going. Try to make sure I educate you guys so you guys can be better, live healthier and happier lives. So let's get into what today's video is about. Today I want to talk about our pelvis. Our pelvis is right here, and I'm going to split off in a second here and show a couple pictures while I'm talking, but your pelvis is a very integral part of your body. It's kind of like where the base of a lot of stuff is. Everything kind of, your upper body comes together down there, and your lower body comes together. It's kind of the center of who we are. So there's a lot of stresses that go on within your pelvis, and something that's very overlooked is the shifting of your pelvis, whether your pelvis is anterior or shifted forward, or if your pelvis is shifted backwards or posterior. So this anterior-posterior relationship, I want you to start to realize, look at your body, especially in the mirror, at the gym, or at home, and start to realize, is your pelvis more forward in an anterior position, or is it more in a posterior position? It can be in a neutral position, which we'll talk about, which is perfect and ideal, but a lot of us fall into either the anterior or posterior position, or the forward or backwards position. And I want you to first learn what that is about. How can I see if I'm forward or backwards with my pelvis? And then how can I correct this? So let's cut up into a different shot, and I will show you what I mean by that. All right, guys, let's get right back into it. So I want to talk about the pelvis. Remember, I said it either shifts in an anterior position, which is forward, or a posterior position, which is backwards. I'm going to show you what those look like, and then in another video, I'm going to show you how we can start to correct these issues. So let's start. So the most common that I see all the time, especially in females, is this anterior pelvic tilt, or when your pelvis is in an anterior or rotated forward position. I call this the belly out and the butt out, belly out, butt out. And what this, it kind of looks like this in this position, and you kind of walk around like this. What does this do to your body? It puts a lot of stress on your low back, and it causes a lot of issues and weaknesses in your front of your pelvis or your hip region. Why? Because when we're walking, so this is more neutral. When we walk or we have this kind of posture, it just causes a compressive load within your low back, especially where those joints are, those facet joints. And you could be walking around or living like this with an anterior pelvic tilt, or where your pelvis is shifted forward, and that could over time put stress on the low back, causing these crazy bouts of low back and pain, and you don't even know where it's coming from. So this could definitely, and a lot of times, a big culprit, because as I've talked about in past videos, most of the stuff in life that you feel, whether it's aches or pains, or even big conditions like heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, it's chronic, it's long-term, it's something that's been happening for a while that we don't realize. So let's start to correct this position. Again, this is the anterior pelvic tip, causes a lot of compression, low back pain, and soreness, and then it causes hip and front issues because your pelvis and your hip flexors become shortened, your quads become shortened, and it just is a terrible pattern to be in. It's actually called lower cross syndrome, which actually I kind of want to talk about in a video in the future. Now, what's the opposite of this? The opposite of this is the exact opposite. So if your pelvis is shifted forward or into the anterior position, the opposite is when your pelvis is shifted in the posterior position. All right. So most people are going to look like this. They're going to walk around kind of like this, more of like a sway back. And it's just the complete opposite. Instead of forward, boom, it's backwards. Okay. Again, you don't want to be in that position because it puts your pelvis, again, in different stresses, and it's going to cause you to compensate. Compensations will eventually cause dysfunction, and the dysfunction causes issues like pain. So let's get out of it. Like I said, I will talk about ways that we can correct this stuff in our future videos, but I do want you to start realizing. Now, how can you figure out if you're anterior or posterior at home? Very simple. Feel right here on your pelvis. Do it right now. Go ahead. Feel down here in this side front area, and you should feel a real bony area. That's your ASIS. Put your finger right on it. Now take your other hand and feel for that dimple in your back, or that bony prominence, or your PSIS in your back portion of your spine. What you should feel and try to do is make sure they're aligned in a straight or parallel line. It's very hard to kind of do it on yourself, but if you can do it on others, maybe you can teach your significant other, your friend, or your family member to do it on yourself, and we can see where your pelvis is. Well, these lines are supposed to be nice and equal. I mean, these points, okay? Your ASIS and your PSIS should be pretty equal. You can get about a half or full finger breadth difference, but if you're more than that, like this, or if you're more like this, well then that's an issue. All right, then we know we're more anterior if you're low like this, or posterior if you're like this. Remember, if I'm more anterior, my back's going to be a little bit higher, that PSI is going to be higher, and then if I'm more posterior, it's going to be the opposite, okay? So try to do that on each other, or whoever is around, and see what your pelvis or how your pelvis is sitting, because again, those compensations will brew up issues over time. I hope that's helpful. I hope you guys interact with me again. Leave comments, text, Instagram, social media, all that stuff. I love that stuff. I'm here for you. So the more I can interact with you, the happier it makes me. Until next week, and I will try to get that video out to show us kind of how we can correct these issues. Remember, like always, movement is everything. Movement